no discussion today can start in any part of the world without discussing about COVID, right? And why I thought of putting this slide in the front is not because of what we have gone through over the last 3 months, is but because what is again beginning to happen in the recent weeks. So, COVID, in my view, remains a key concern, and in many advanced countries, a discussion of second wave has started being in existence now. If you look at the world, we are right now just at about close to 10 million cases in total. Active cases are about 40%. US, while it leads the global economy, it also leading the COVID economy right now uh, with 25% share in the total COVID cases. India is now ranked fourth. Yesterday, we crossed 5 lakh cases. The number of cases were an all time high in a single day at 18,000 plus. Importantly, our recovery rate remains strong at about close to 60%. I think important to note here in the case of India is that our total number of active cases as of yesterday is equal to the total number of new cases of the last 12 days. So the total number of cases that we had till 12 days back is equal to the recoveries that we have as of now. And that is a very important aspect, that while number of cases are rising in a country of 1.3 billion, the recovery is very high and the mortality is very low. Worldwide, all the medical experts and the governments focus on mortality as the most important parameter to understand the extent of the problem of COVID. Again, in India, for a country which is as united as we are and as fragmented as we are, three states account for 60% of the cases. So if you look at Maharashtra, Delhi, and Tamil, Delhi, again including, it's from a size point of view would be small, but from a noise point of view would be very high. So the three states account for 60% of the total cases, which is very important to note here, is that the rest of the country, such a large country, just has just has around close to 2 lakh total cases that have been infected, right? And which is why brings a hope that the economic activities resumption is still going to pick up pace, because the cases in the rest of the country is not alarming. If you look at the mortality also, Maharashtra, Delhi, and Tamil Nadu put together is almost close to 10,000 plus, which is 70% of the mortality, right? So I think the bites that we keep hearing nowadays, that this industry is reverting back to 70% of pre-COVID, 90% of pre-COVID, is because a very, very large part of the population and the country is relatively less affected. In fact, one of the important things that people wanted to watch was then when the whole migrant issue cropped up and people were returning back to their places, will states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, etc., see a big spike in their active cases or the new cases? But again here, and by the way, we are going by the data, so we are not disbelieving the data right now. If we just go by the data, for a size of the for the size that state like in Uttar Pradesh is, we just have about 6,000 active cases right now. So this is, while globally COVID remains a key concern because of talks of second wave coming up, in India it is still limited to three states which are accounting for 60 to 70% of the issue. Um, this is unusual because typically over the last 20 years, I've always heard that India is a decoupled economy. There have been funds who have invested in India saying that whenever there are global issues, India remains a place to hide. But this year, India is 20% down year to date versus average markets. If you look at MSCI emerging market, it is down by about just 10%. If you look at some of the developed, US is just not down at all. You have Nasdaq, which is plus 10% for the year. S&P, which is -5, and some of the emerging markets like Taiwan, Korea, just down between -2 to -8%. These are in dollar terms. So the local market converted into the dollar change is what gives you. India stands right at the top of the underperformance. And this is after 2019 also being an underperforming year. So for 2 years in a row, we are underperforming the world. And I will come to that little later also. Right. Uh, this is the data which I think every market participant at 5:30 p.m. looks forward to on what was the FIDI numbers today, right? And when you collate this data over a period of time, the two tall towers, one below the sea, which is FIIs, and one above the sea, which is 7.5 for the month of March, defined the nature of this market. So you can see that, wow, almost on a monthly basis, FI and DI flows offset each other, right? But we saw the kind of carnage that March brought when FI sold $8 billion of flows in one single month. We have not seen a tower below the sea like that ever. That has been the highest ever selling we have seen ever. It has also been the highest ever buying by DIs ever, right? Since then, FIs have put in almost close to $5 billion, $4.5 billion. But I must tell you again here is that this $5 billion has got absorbed just in the amount of selling that has happened by corporates, strategic investors, and private equity guys into the market. So actually in the market, the institutional flow in the month of April, May, June has remained negative. Right? I just want to harp again on that. While you may see the FII flows being positive, DII flow being positive in April, May, June, the total amount of selling which doesn't get captured here, for example, the 25,000 crore selling by Glaxo on Hindustan Unilever, the 15,000 crore of capital raising that Kotak Bank did, many of the life insurance stake sales, OFSs that came, all in all, these things put together in our calculation is almost close to $8 to $10 billion. So the net buying that you see in this chart would actually become net selling if you were to adjust for those numbers also. And that explains why we are down -20 still. Because the net money in the market has not come. Until the time you do not see that trend coming, we will only chase the rest of the world. If the rest of the world is down -10, we are down -20. If they are down -20, we will be down -30. If they are down 0, we will be down -10. Now, while domestics always comes and offset the impact of FIIs, I think the Indian market structure is such or construct is such that the FII flow intensity matters the most. So between Feb and June, when they withdrew $6 billion, you had a 12% correction in the Nifty. And every time you have FII sell flows, you always see markets reacting to those tunes. I think domestics at best become a support to the market rather than a driver to the market, while the trend of FII flows become the direction to the market. We had a massive spike in the volatility, right? Touchwood, that has significantly come down from a high of almost 80 that we touched in March. The volatility index is down to about 28 to 30, and that is critical because a lot of the investment money typically comes when the volatility index tends to slow down. That is the reason why I put this chart that after a big spike that we saw, we are back to the normalized levels on the volatility index. This remains the problem, and this is why foreigners don't like India right now. This is the reason why India has been underperforming for 2 years in a row. This is the reason why in the secondary market we are not seeing any flows yet. No, I think we have almost lost the most precious part of our careers of last 12 years, hoping for an earnings recovery to happen. But at at a corporate India level, the earnings CAGR for the last 12 years is just 5%. Right. This is just equal to the inflation in the country. FY 97 to FY 03, we had a lost phase of 6 years with just 3.5% growth, and that followed a fantastic, maybe the best period of our career of the last 2 decades, with a 25% CAGR. But just imagine this phase of FY 09 to FY 21, 12 years, 5% CAGR, right? just just about close to doubling from where we were, right? And till the time, not in the estimates of our analysts, but in reality, you do not see this earnings growth becoming double digit, right? This will remain a trading market, not an investment market. But I don't think that there is any point talking about being pessimist on this, because this has played out, and this has played out in form of a long cycle where our corporate profit to GDP, which used to be 8% at the peak, and average has been 5, right? In FY 20 is bottoming out closer to 3%. So 3% is almost a bottom for us. I don't think we slip below this. But the irony is that this year even the GDP is expected to fall. So we are looking at the absolute GDP, or a real GDP growth of minus 5%, and a nominal GDP growth also, which probably should decline. So even if you have corporate profit to GDP being flat, you will still have an earnings decline for this year. Right. Valuations, I think at the top and the bottom, they always matter. In the middle, they are just discussion material. At the top, some parameters always give you alarm bell. At the bottom, they give you a big cry for an opportunity. Our market cap to GDP was 56% at the end of March, right? That was as low as what we traded in the last 2 decades. And no wonder you have seen a big move in the market from 8,000 Nifty to 10,000 Nifty without actually anything changing. Remember, valuation at the peak and the bottom don't need a reason to move the market. That number in itself is a big enough trigger for markets to move.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.